Hey America, visit our sponsor eartheasy.com right now. Click that link below and check out the LifeStraw, your ultimate personal, portable water filtration system in the event of a crisis or casual use. Click that link below, that's eartheasy.com. Hey everybody, I'm Christopher Green. You're tuning in to AMTV Alternative Media Television. It is Sunday, April 13th, 2014. This is your weekend update. Major victory for liberty lovers everywhere, not just here in America, but around the globe, with the feds officially retreating from Cliven Bundy's ranch. This range war, this ranch war, and this standoff that many feared would escalate to violence. Of course, we reported on this on Friday. Hundreds of protesters showed up, and the feds released a statement saying that they feared violence and potentially dangerous situation with civilians and protesters. Again, we reported extensively on the fact that there was a pregnant woman knocked to the ground, that Cliven Bundy's son was sent to jail. He was roughed up. Many of the other protesters grossly attacked by officials from the Bureau of Land Management. Now, since that time, after just a blistering reports and blistering coverage of this war, this range war, this attack on American liberty and state sovereignty. Again, this is much more about states' rights versus the federal government, a Orwellian, totalitarian overthrow of states' rights. And this media attention was able to push back, at least temporarily, the feds and helicopters and snipers and this gross surveillance that had been occurring on Cliven Bundy's property. But with that raises a lot of questions. And, first of all, I want to congratulate the liberty-minded community in general, and we should acknowledge a small victory. But we also need to ask the difficult questions. Is this just the BLM and the federal government? Were they perhaps running a test run? Was this a Psyop to judge, who the dissenters were so that they could, again, launch a surveillance operation and get a better idea of what a standoff like this would look like in the future? And many people believe so. And I think that the federal government, even if it had not intended this to be a PSYOP originally and intended this to be an intelligence gathering situation, is clearly using the data, the information, the names of the protesters, the visual images, and all of this information, and will be using it for a future confrontation, not just with Cliven Bundy's and specifically Cliven Bundy's ranch, but really this range war that is occurring all across America and is affecting Americans' liberty and freedoms and constitutional rights everywhere. A report came from ABC that the Nevada cattle rancher wins the range war, as again the BLM has effectively retreated, providing temporary solace to Cliven Bundy and many of the protesters that had attended over the weekend and pretty much scared off the federal government intervention. Or is that really the case? Is this just a temporary reprieve from a future, even more aggressive action taken by the BLM, the Bureau of Land Management, the federal government, people like Harry Reid, etc.? InfoWars did a scathing report that broke several days ago, really over the weekend as much as this was taking off, with a report indicating that Senator Harry Reid was behind the Bureau of Land Management land grab of Bundy Ranch in order to basically push Cliven Bundy off the ranch. Of course, we knew this wasn't about a little cute desert tortoise, eating a flower that we took a picture of and showed you guys a few days ago. That this was in fact about, at least the speculation is, this was a land grab in order to put in a solar farm backed by the Chinese. And then once this report went viral, actually went super viral over the internet, the BLM retreated, and much of this was really taken aback as, again, the Cliven Bundy family is provided temporary reprieve from this authoritarian move by the feds. There was a statement released by the Bureau of Land Management. The cattle gather operation had been concluded, at least temporarily. But again, the questions need to be asked. Was this a part of a larger intelligence gathering operation by the BLM and a planned event really from the get-go to gauge the level of involvement from militia groups, the media, protesters, and just really to gather more data so that they have a better gauge of what an event like this will look like, not just regarding Cliven Bundy in a future attack on his property rights, etc., but really an attack on America in general, to gauge, again, what the response would be. And I think that we have to conclude that at the very least, even if it wasn't pre-planned in that way, in that fashion, that this information, the intelligence gathering, all this data will be looked at, it will be logged, it will be put into the computer algorithm that is the NSA, and everything that Edward Snowden and people like Julian Assange have been warning us about for years. It is now a part of the reality landscape of the surveillance state that is America today. Of course, while all this is happening, there is a very large smoke screen occurring in Ukraine, another story that we've reported on extensively, with fears of a full-scale Russian invasion as eastern Ukraine cities are toppled. Now, again, we've explained this in detail, that this was coordinated and choreographed by the United States federal government. This in and of itself has been the intention of Western interests for some time. Their intent to destabilize these parts of the world, not just Ukraine, but the Middle East. We've seen this in Iraq and Afghanistan, really all over the world, with many of the wars that we've been fighting throughout the past several decades, as a destabilization effort to topple Russian interests in Ukraine. Of course, we reported on that this is about not just the land itself, but its exportation of natural gas and natural resources, all of which are extremely valuable to Europe and extremely valuable to the European Union, and these are very valuable interests for the United States, which is one of the reasons that the U.S. was behind the arming of the insurgents, the terrorist groups, the Molotov cocktail throwing terrorists really on the ground to try to overthrow Ukraine and push Russia out. Russia, of course, gaining power, gaining steam, and really realizing Putin's goal of reinvigorating their empire. And this is really the larger footprint and Cold War that is being fought around the world. Major superpowers, including the United States, a declining empire, by the way, and Russia, which is clearly winning the propaganda war, not just on the front of surveillance and, the push and the realization of people like Edward Snowden and their leaks to the public, but also how he's been able to display and show his strength to the rest of the world and portray the United States really what it truly is, a weak nation guided by weak leadership and a politically correct bullshit society, which really is our Achilles heel. Terrorist organizations around the world know this. Countries, enemy nations know this, and they're clearly exploiting this to their advantage at a time when the United States is scaling back military operations, by the way. Of course, merging with other companies, Fortune 500, Fortune 100 companies, really like Google, which have now made major acquisitions into companies like Boston Dynamics, becoming the soon-to-be largest defense contractor to the United States. Again, all of this building, while the nation's attention, or at the very least, the alternative media's attention has been at this land grab, a very valid, valid situation, which it's great to see a small victory. Of course, we've got to ask ourselves the deeper questions of the intent, the strategy of the federal government, surveillance, the NSA, etc., amidst what is clearly a global issue and much greater in scale, in my opinion, this brink of war scenario that we are currently engaged in overseas, revolving around Ukraine. AP has reported that John Kerry expresses concern over the attacks in Ukraine. Yahoo corroborates that the U.S. has warned, like we're supposed to be scared, like the U.S. is the weakest nation in the world, and perception is reality, and it's really the case. Again, this politically correct society of just weakness, really. I mean, the president, Barack Obama, politics aside, is really considered by the rest of the world the weakest president probably in the history of America. It's largely responsible for our downfall. It's one of the reasons nations around the world do not respect us, and it's put the United States in an incredibly weak and vulnerable situation. In my opinion, the most dangerous position that a nation, a sovereign nation, a great nation like the United States could ever be put in. And it's one of the reasons why I don't believe that war is on the horizon. I believe we are already engaged in war, whether or not this is the propaganda war or this is the soon-to-be physical confrontation being fought overseas. U.S. again warning Russia of additional consequences. But again, all of these are feigned warnings. This is all talk. This isn't action by the United States. And Putin and powerful leaders like him know this, and it's why they're clearly taking advantage of the situation. And they are also responding from a clear brunt force attack by the United States to destabilize this part of the world, which has been the program for years. It's been part of the larger United States destabilization effort, not just in the Middle East, but parts of Europe. And now we see here in Ukraine as an attempt to cut the balls off the aspirations of Putin and the Russian Empire itself, which has been rebuilding itself since the Cold War and its collapse, the collapse of the former Soviet Union and the USSR, a position that I believe the United States is actually currently in itself, with our systemic diseased economy and our financial system, which is clearly really just rubbish, built on nothingness, fake reality, quantitative easing, 0% interest rates into infinity. The White House, in the meantime, has sent Biden to Kiev as the conflict with Russia escalates. All of this, please keep your eye on and do not lose sight of what's happening in Ukraine. Mail Online also reports that deepening tensions, pro-Russian militants armed with pistols and rifles stormed police stations in eastern Ukrainian cities, pulling Europe closer to the brink of a gas war. Gazprom, responsible for exporting a tremendous amount of natural gas from Russia through the Ukraine, which had, by the way, been providing subsidies, deep and steep discounts to Ukraine, has now since lifted those subsidies, sending the price of natural gas through the roof and really destabilizing the exportation of gas to Europe, the Eurozone, European Union, people like Angela Merkel that are really in chaos themselves. The European Union, an utter failure and tragedy, a clear-cut example of a worsening crisis as these global leaders continue to try to integrate the world into this new world order paradigm, while literally bankrupting and bankrolling all of this into their own pockets at the expense of the people. We've seen this in countries like Greece and the vicious riots, and we'll soon see this in the United States. Again, all of these extremely important stories. I'm Christopher Green. This is your weekend update. Get it out everywhere. I'd like to hear your questions, comments, thoughts. Put it in the description box below. Thank you for tuning in. Again, hard-hitting it in your face. Get it out everywhere. Make it viral. And click the link below to support our sponsor.